Hey there, fellow Soul Reapers, Hollows, and anime fans. Welcome back to the channel. It's Top Ranking here, and today, we've got something truly exciting for all you Bleach fans out there. We're diving deep into the world of Shinigami and their incredible powers as we count down the top 10 strongest Bankai in Bleach. Bleach is a legendary anime and manga series, and one of its defining features is the Bankai, the ultimate form of a Shinigami's Zanpakuto. Each Bankai is unique, powerful, and packed with its own set of abilities that can turn the tide of any battle. Every Soul Reaper has a katana called a Zanpakuto, and each one possesses a Shurikai release. Bankai refers to a Zanpakuto's second release, and it can usually only be achieved by captain-level Soul Reapers. Fans have seen more than a dozen of these Bankai, and they are all extremely powerful, but some are far stronger than others. In this video, we'll be ranking the top 10 Bankai based on their sheer strength, weakness, versatility, and the impact they've had on the Bleach universe. It's a tough list to narrow down, as there are so many incredible Bankai to choose from, but we're up to the challenge. Before we jump into the list, make sure to hit that like button if you're a Bleach fan, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss any of our anime content. Your support means the world to us. Alright. No more delays. Let's get started with our countdown of the top 10 strongest Bankai in Bleach. Coming in at number 10, we've got Shinji Hirako's Bankai, Sakashima Yakushima Happo. Similar to the majority of his fellow counterparts, Shinji Hirako possesses a Bankai that augments and intensifies the power of his Shurikai. This Bankai is known as Sakashima Yakushima Happo and, like the Shurikai, can create an illusion of a mirrored world for those in close proximity. However, in contrast to the Shurikai, the Bankai's influence delves deeper into the minds of its targets, resulting in a far-reaching and more profound sense of inversion. Sakashima Yakushima Happo possesses the formidable power to manipulate a target's core beliefs, moral compass, and self-identity, among other aspects. As soon as an individual enters the proximity of Sakashima's influence, these distortions swiftly permeate their mind, embedding themselves deeply within their consciousness. In a recent installment of the Thousand-Year Blood War, Shinji harnessed this ability to compel a group of Quincy soldiers into turning their own arrows against each other. It's these awe-inspiring capabilities that establish Sakashima Yakushima Happo as one of the most menacing Bankai in the series. While Shinji Hirako's Bankai possesses intriguing and highly perilous abilities, it falls short of being an omnipotent skill due to two glaring vulnerabilities that hinder its practicality in actual combat scenarios. The initial limitation pertains to the scope of Sakashima Yakushima Happo area of effect, as mentioned previously. Shinji's Bankai wields the capacity to influence any living entity within a specific area, making it an indiscriminate power that impacts both comrades and foes alike. Consequently, it becomes unsuitable for use in situations where numerous allies are present. Another evident flaw in this Bankai is related to its area of influence. While Shinji's Shikaien Bankai can disrupt an individual's capacity to effectively launch an offensive or defend themselves, there exists a particular type of attack that can nullify the impact of this illusion. This pertains to attacks capable of encompassing a broad expanse, like Soifan's Bankai or Bambietta's explosive abilities. In such cases, when an attack can envelop an entire area, distinctions such as front or rear, left or right, and friend or foe become virtually irrelevant. Indeed, Shinji Hirako's Sakashima Yakushima Happo unquestionably stands out as one of the most formidable Bankai in the world of Bleach, thanks to its distinctive capabilities. However, it is not without notable shortcomings and vulnerabilities that may restrict its effectiveness in practical combat scenarios. Nevertheless, under the appropriate conditions, this Bankai has the potential to swiftly obliterate an entire army, including a handful of commanders, within seconds. Taking our number 9 spot, we've got Byakuya Kochiki's Senbon Kagyoshi, Vibrant Scape of 1,000 Cherry Blossoms. It's essentially an expanded iteration of Senbon Shikai, where Byakuya releases it by simply relinquishing his sword. Upon contact with the ground, the blade sinks, and from it emerge 2 rows of massive blades that subsequently disperse into countless smaller blades. The sheer quantity of these blades allows Byakuya to seamlessly employ them for both defensive and offensive purposes. Typically, he molds them into substantial clusters of blades to overwhelm his adversaries. To overwhelm the defense of an opponent, Byakuya can use Lit. Pivotal scape. This aligns every blade in a spherical formation around his opponent, which then collapses into them from every possible angle, leaving no blind spots and no chance to escape. His offensive technique is known as annihilation scape, Bankai, which brings together the scattered petals to create complete swords forming rows around both Byakuya and his opponent. In this form, Byakuya sacrifices the defensive capabilities of his numerous blades in favor of a more focused approach to eliminate his adversary. Although he can manipulate these swords just like his regular blades, he typically wields only one during his attacks. Byakuya mentions during his battle with Ichigo that he usually reveals Bankai only to individuals he has sworn to kill with his own hands, with Ichigo being the second person to witness it. After immobilizing an opponent, he can summon the other blades to strike while they are trapped. He also possesses the ability to utilize all the blades simultaneously for an incredibly powerful strike. Byakuya demonstrates that Bankai can serve as a protective barrier against a barrage of Ciroblasts for those within. Moreover, he can activate Kageyoshi from inside Bankai, shattering all rows of swords at once. In his arsenal, he has a hidden technique called Annihilation Scape, Ika Senjinka, which propels all the blades of Bankai toward his enemy simultaneously. As a finishing move, he can employ Final Scape, Shukiai, which condenses all his blades into a single sword, significantly enhancing its cutting prowess. The blade takes on a bright white appearance, with its aura resembling a dragon, earning it the moniker Sword of the White Emperor, Hakutiken. Byakuya also manifests pure white wings and a halo-like circle on his back, both composed of spiritual energy. When it comes to weaknesses for his Bankai, Byakuya, as many others, also has some drawbacks. Vulnerability to speed and precision. Byakuya's Bankai relies on the thousands of small blade petals formed from his sword, Senbonzakura, to attack his opponent. However, if an opponent is extremely fast or possesses a high level of precision, they may be able to dodge or deflect the petals. Limited range. The effective range of Senbonzakura Kageyoshi is somewhat limited, and it's most potent in close to mid-range combat. At a distance, the petals may not be as accurate or effective. Requires line of sight. Byakuya needs to see his target in order to direct the petals effectively. If he cannot see the opponent, he might struggle to use the Bankai to its full potential. Vulnerability to disruption. If an opponent can disrupt Byakuya's concentration or damage his Zanpakuto, it can hamper the effectiveness of his Bankai. Byakuya is also vulnerable to opponents who can manipulate the environment to his disadvantage. Weakness to large area attacks. While Senbonzakura Kageyoshi provides Byakuya with a potent offense and defense, it may not be as effective against large-scale, wide-area attacks that he cannot completely deflect or evade. Despite these weaknesses, Byakuya's skill and experience often allow him to overcome many of these limitations, making him a formidable Shinigami. So while Shinji's Bankai can be a bit more difficult to deal with, the fact that his Bankai can affect allies as well, leads me to put Senbonzakura Kageyoshi above it. Following up and coming in at number 8, we've got Toshiro Hitsugaya's Daiguren Hyarinmaru. Hitsugaya wields a Zanpakuto known as Hyarinmaru, which harnesses the power of ice. In fact, Hyarinmaru stands as the most formidable ice-based Zanpakuto within Soul Society. It possesses the remarkable ability to conjure ice seemingly from thin air, capable of freezing nearly anything it comes into contact with, including the surrounding atmosphere. When Hitsugaya triggers his Bankai, known as Daiguren Hyarinmaru, it represents an upgraded iteration of his Hyarinmaru. Upon activating his Bankai, Hitsugaya's upper body becomes encased in a substantial layer of ice armor. Furthermore, ice wings manifest on his back, accompanied by an ice tail extending from his hips. His right arm is also enveloped in ice, reaching all the way to his Zanpakuto, while his hands and feet adopt the form of icy dragon claws. Additionally, 3 large ice flowers hover behind Hitsugaya, each boasting 4 petals. Over time, these ice petals gradually shatter. In terms of power, Daiguren Hyarinmaru surpasses the capabilities of Hyarinmaru. The ice becomes thicker, more durable, and colder, while the affected area expands significantly. Hitsugaya's combat techniques remain largely consistent with those employed using the regular Hyarinmaru. Many individuals, whether they are characters within the series or the viewers watching it, often perceive Daiguren Hyarinmaru as a somewhat inferior Bankai, particularly when comparing it to the Bankai of other captains. Two primary reasons account for this viewpoint. Firstly, the techniques in Daiguren Hyarinmaru closely resemble the base Hyarinmaru version with some noticeable cosmetic alterations, and secondly, there's the matter of the mentioned flower petals. The apparent lack of substantial changes in its techniques and capabilities is a valid cause for concern, even causing Hitsugaya himself to express some frustration at his limited power on multiple occasions. It's evident that Daiguren Hyarinmaru appears to have limited utility when confronting formidable adversaries, which is precisely what occurs during the Quincy invasion in the Thousand-Year Blood War arc. Regarding the issue of the flower petals, many people believe they represent the remaining duration of Hitsugaya's Bankai. The longer he employs Daiguren Hyarinmaru, the more ice petals disintegrate, and this is viewed as a significant weakness by both his allies and enemies. What they might not realize, however, is that this perception is a misconception. These petals are not a countdown to the end of Hitsugaya's Bankai. On the contrary, they mark the progression towards the full manifestation of Daiguren Hyarinmaru. At the commencement of the Thousand-Year Blood War, Hitsugaya experiences the theft of his Bankai by one of the Stern Ritter, leaving him without his most potent weapon. This predicament forces Hitsugaya to contemplate his own abilities, acknowledging that even if he were to regain access to his cherished Bankai, he might still be inadequate to overcome the top Stern Ritter on his own. It is during this pivotal moment that he finally discovers the means to unleash the full potential of Daiguren Hyarinmaru. As previously noted, Daiguren Hyarinmaru stands as the mightiest ice-based Bankai within Soul Society. Regrettably, despite his esteemed role as a Gotei 13 captain, Hitsugaya remains a youth, subject to the limitations of his youthful body, which have been impeding Daiguren Hyarinmaru's true potential. In essence, Hitsugaya's physical capacity falls short of fully harnessing the might of his Bankai. The solution? He simply needs to mature. This transformation unfolds towards the culmination of the Thousand-Year Blood War. Upon recovering Daiguren Hyarinmaru from its captor, Hitsugaya promptly activates his Bankai and engages in a battle against one of the formidable Stern Ritter, the colossal figure known as Gerard Valkyrie. As his Bankai's final petals dissipate into the ether, Hitsugaya employs a covert technique to temporarily age himself into an adult, thus realizing the complete form of Daiguren Hyarinmaru. The power of the complete form of Daiguren Hyarinmaru cannot be compared to its regular version. After all, in this form, Hitsugaya is able to completely freeze anything within a couple of miles radius with just a simple gesture of his hand. Not only that, objects that have been frozen will lose any of its effects or abilities, basically turning it into a simple block of ice. His power is so great that it can easily hurt his allies if he is not careful with it, sort of like Captain Yamamoto's Bankai. Meaning that Toshiro's Bankai is basically the direct counterpart to Yamamoto's formidable Bankai. And I can definitely see a more experienced older Toshiro being able to have his Bankai on the same level as Yamamoto did. Hence for being put higher than the two below him, as he has way more potential to increase his Bankai formidability. Like all other Bankais, here are a few weaknesses of Toshiro's. Fire and heat-based attacks. Hitsugaya's Bankai relies on creating and controlling ice, so it is inherently weak against fire and heat-based attacks. Fire can melt the ice and weaken the effectiveness of his abilities. Energy-intensive, utilizing Daiguren Hyarinmaru's full power requires a significant amount of spiritual energy, and if Hitsugaya exhausts his energy reserves, he may be unable to maintain the Bankai. Lack of adaptability. Daiguren Hyarinmaru is primarily an offensive Bankai with limited versatility. It doesn't provide much in the way of defensive capabilities, making Hitsugaya vulnerable when facing powerful opponents. Inexperience and growth. Hitsugaya was relatively young when he first achieved his Bankai, and his abilities have continued to grow over the course of the series. As a result, he may not have initially realized all the potential applications of his Bankai. Despite these weaknesses, Hitsugaya's Bankai remains a formidable power in the Bleach series, and he has proven to be a skilled and adaptable fighter, often finding ways to overcome his limitations and become a more formidable opponent. Coming in our lucky number 7 spot, we've got Kisuke Urahara's Kanenbaraki Benihai Maritame. In contrast to other individuals who dedicated a decade to mastering Bankai, Kisuke Urahara achieved the remarkable feat of attaining Bankai proficiency in a mere 3 days. He accomplished this by crafting the Tenshinatai, an exceptional artifact designed to compel a Zanpakuto's spirit into tangible form when pierced by the Zanpakuto itself. This innovative invention enabled users to subdue the spirit and unlock the full potential of their zanpakuto, ultimately achieving Bankai. Notably, Ichigo adopted this very technique to gain access to his Bankai in the original Bleach anime. Similar to several other Bankai, Kisuke Urahara's Bankai manifests a giant figure as Kanenbaraki Benihai Maritime manifests a giant woman with dark, braided hair arranged in loops on her head. Her arms are mannequin-like, almost similar to that of a doll, as she wears a revealing red robe over her body. While the Bankai itself may appear mysterious when compared to the Bankai of other Shinigami, its capabilities are truly astonishing. Kanenbaraki Benihai Maritime possesses an exceptionally powerful ability to alter anything it comes into contact with, serving both offensive and supportive functions. This ability is confined to a specific area, and when Urahara employs his Bankai, he can effortlessly cleave through objects, much like a knife cutting through them. While the act of splitting alone sounds painful, the real danger lies in Kisuke Urahara's ability to subsequently reconstruct anything by reassembling it. In his own case, Urahara used this power to restore his eyes after they were rendered useless by a skin Naklavar. However, when it comes to his adversaries, he can use this reconstructive ability to weaken them by altering their bodies. It's important to note that his reconstructive talents extend beyond mere restoration and healing, they can also enhance any body part, optimizing its functionality. During his battle against a skin, Urahara reinforced his arms with greater strength using his Bankai, enabling him to overpower Yawacha's royal guard member, a skin Naklavar. With that said, Urahara's Bankai boasts a wide range of applications, allowing him to create pathways for others to navigate obstacles or barriers, as demonstrated when he used it to open a passage for Grimjaw Jiggerjacks to enter Askin's Gift Ball Deluxe. However, the Bankai does have its drawbacks as well. When Kanenbaraki Benihai Maritime is deactivated, any body parts that were enhanced or healed using the Bankai go back to the way it was before it was restructured. Thus, the user Urahara could go through tremendous pain upon deactivating his Bankai if he had used it to heal himself. Although being one of the most broken Bankai in Bleach, many may disagree with me on this one, but the Bankais above this one are just way out of hand for me to put them below it. So sneaking into our number 6 spot, we've got Retsu Unohana's Minazuki. Retsu Unohana is, if you've only seen the anime, one of the more curious characters from Taikubo's Bleach. Older than any other captain except Yamamoto, Unohana has been portrayed as one of the best healers in Soul Society, but we have never seen her fight, up until the final arc in Bleach. As we finally see, Unohana uses her Zanpakuto in battle. We also find out that she is actually Yuichiro Unohana, one of the strongest Shinigami in history, and a brutal and violent fighter. During her fight with Saraki Kenpachi, Unohana used her Bankai, Minazuki, for the last time. Minazuki, known as Fleshdrop's Gorge, serves as Unohana's Zanpakuto. In its initial, unsealed state, it deviates from the conventional katana by adopting a more pronounced curvature and increased height, resembling more of an odachi. The hilt takes on a dark red hue, while the scabbard sports an indigo shade. The guard shape is a simple oval without any embellishments. Notably, Minazuki remains unique among Zanpakuto in that its name remains unchanged in all 3 forms, sealed, Shikai, and Bankai. Upon activation, the blade of Unohana's Zanpakuto undergoes a transformation, turning into a viscous, dark red substance that swiftly emanates from the blade, enveloping a significant area around the user. This liquid, unleashed by Minazuki, possesses an incredible corrosive potency, causing a rapid disintegration of an opponent's skin and flesh. Even a physically resilient warrior like Kenpachi can be reduced to a skeletal state upon contact with this substance, or this could all have been an illusionary effect on Kenpachi, as it was never clearly explained what really occurred. It's worth noting that this lethal substance can also affect the wielder of the Bankai. In her battle, Unohana combined this lethal ability with her formidable Kaido to counteract the adverse effects of her Bankai, effectively expediting the process of incapacitating and reviving Kenpachi. One could argue that Minazuki involved blood manipulation, though this claim only holds partial truth. While Unohana did create a bloody environment, it's important to note that she didn't manipulate Kenpachi's blood or her own. It was more like her spiritual pressure had transformed into a fluid, unpredictable, and extendable weapon. Her Bankai demonstrated a similar capability to Byakuya Kochiki's Senbunzakura's Senkei, forming countless blades that could attack or defend from any direction. Unohana also utilized the blood to extend her reach, reminiscent of Rinji Aburai's Zabumaru in its Shikai state. Not only did the blood blanket the battlefield like a swamp, but it also enveloped her blade. In the Soul Society arc of Bleach, Byakuya mentioned that Ichigo Kurosaki's ability to condense his Bankai into a smaller form increased his physical potential. Unohana displayed a similar effect, with her fundamental combat skills improving as her Bankai was unleashed. This phenomenon was also observed with Genryusei Shigekuni Yamamoto's Bankai, as his destructive power increased in Zenka no Tachi, East due to the condensation of his spiritual pressure into the blade. This was done with the aim of eliminating the psychological barriers hindering his newfound power, after her sealed Zanpakuto proved insufficient to match his increased strength. Minazuki made Unohana the most powerful and versatile warrior within the Gotei 13. It offered increased physical attributes similar to Zangetsu and Ryujin Jaka through a condensed Bankai, allowed for numerous and mobile weapons like Senbonzakura and unpredictability through extendable sword strikes like Zabumaru, and gave Unohana a regeneration ability on par with Ulquiorra Cipher. All these combined powers portrayed just how powerful Unohana Kenpachi was and why she was feared across the Soul Society. So this is clearly showing how powerful Minazuki on a whole is, and for some as experienced and deadly as Unohana to wield it, also shows how formidable of an opponent she was. It's no wonder we never got to see Search Bankai, up until the final arc. And you can see this occurring quite frequently, as many of the Bankais on this list are those revealed in the Thousand Blood War arc. Next up and beginning our top 5 of the list, we've got Shunsui Kayaraku's Kaiten Kayakatsu, Karamatsu Shinju. Arguably one of the most formidable Bankai abilities in existence, Shunsui reserves its deployment as a final option due to the potential risks it poses to his close comrades. Its initial manifestation occurs during his confrontation with stern Ritter Leal Baro. When Shunsui triggers his Bankai, he adopts a posture with his 2 swords held before him, their blades pointing downward and making contact with the ground. From the shadows cast by these blades, limb-like extensions resembling branches emerge and extend outward in all directions. Concurrently, he casts a pervasive, somber aura throughout a substantial area surrounding himself. Those encompassed within this zone perceive their surroundings as stark, desolate, and chilling. Moreover, most individuals experience a prevailing sense of melancholy and sorrow. Given the extensive range of his Bankai's influence, Shunsui employs it only when he is assured that all of his allies are situated at a safe distance. Shuansui's Bankai is composed of 4 successive acts, each building upon the preceding one. Tamaraikizu no Wakachiai, Act the First, hesitance and apportionment of wounds. Any injury you inflict on an opponent, you suffer instead. Conversely, the opponent also receives any wounds they intend to inflict on the user. Nidenmi, Zenki no Shirton, Act the Second, the Pillow of Shame. If you injure yourself as a result of Act the First, you will contract an incurable disease out of remorse about it, which will cause large black dots to form all over your body. This is based on the tale of a warrior who was full of remorse over the fact that he injured himself in battle. The embodiment of his tremendous grief turned into an incurable disease. Sandam, Danjio no Fuchi, Act the Third, the Severing Abyss. Due to the remorse of Act the Second, the opponent throws himself into the rising waters. This means that anyone who is sick of remorse can no longer live with it and kills themselves. The opponent and user are trapped underwater until each Ryatsu has expired. Shime no Dan, Idokiribasami Kaizome no Nadabu, Final Act, thread-cutting scissors upon a blood-streaked throat. The user ties the opponent's throat with a white thread, then the user cuts the thread at the neck, severing their throat with Ryatsu or even severing their entire head. The background of this technique is based on the love of a woman. The love of a woman is extraordinarily cruel. If her husband makes a noise, she no longer pays any attention to him. Instead, the white thread of regret shines around her beautiful neck. This act also builds on Act the Third, as only a woman's love can save those trapped in the water. While this Bankai is a pretty much W for Shunsui, it still has 2 major weaknesses, one being that he needs to be a safe distance away from any allies, as they as well can get trapped in his ridiculously story of a Bankai. Secondly, Shunsui acts can also affect him and could even lead to his death, hence why he only uses it as a last resort. However, even with such weaknesses, as skilled and experienced Soul Reaper Shunsui is, it's hard to see many opponents that would be able to survive this deadly Bankai. So this is what makes Shuunsui's Bankai one of the top strongest Bankais known to us. Taking our number 4 spot, we've got the formidable leader of Squad 0, Ichibei Hyasube Shirafude Kimanji. So when it comes to Ichibei, it's hard to really go deep into what his Bankai itself is capable of, as it was only displayed for a brief moment, making it even more mysterious than Anohana's Minazuki. However, judging by what we know it does and how it played upon Yacht during their fight, I think it's safe to say that this Bankai, or Shinuchi as he refers to it, Shinuchi of course being the original name of Bankai, is far more formidable than we can even imagine. So from what we know about this Bankai ability, is that anything that his ink during his Shikai release touches gives him the ability to remove the name from that said mark. On the other hand, when he releases his Bankai, he is now able to rename any of those things. While we might not have seen the full extent of this, it alone sounds like a crazy ability to have. Basically, as Ichibei himself stated, having a name gives anything the power, as a name itself is very powerful. So thinking deep into that aspect, if Ichibei was to remove your name and rename you as something drastically weaker than him, for example an ant or a lizard or a leaf, then I think it's a wrap for the majority of opponents that gets caught up in that. Basically making anyone is going up against rather useless than anything. Now it's also wise to think that, on the other hand of things, Ichibei can rename any of his allies to something stronger, that can drastically boost their powers and abilities. This alone makes his Bankai a formidable ability to go up against. Because if we were to really think about it, if Ichibei renames some as their future self, for example using his ability and rename Ichigo as future Ichigo Kurosaki, then that alone is something to fear. But this is all hypothetical thinking, and for all we know he can't do any of these things. However, I feel like this is a safe spot to put him, as he did go up against one of the strongest characters in the anime. Next up, and taking our number 3 spot, is our beloved fight-loving captain, Kenpachi Zaraki's no Zarashi. Like Ichibei, we don't really know much if at all anything about Kenpachi's Bankai and its full potential. But from his fight with Gerard, one of the most powerful Quincy with one of the most broken abilities was defeated in a matter of seconds by it, showing us the sheer power of Kenpachi himself. His Bankai, from what we know, release Kenpachi full power. Upon activation, Kenpachi's Bankai emits an immense surge of energy, possessing enough force to lay waste to nearby structures. In this transformed state, Kenpachi's complexion takes on a reddish hue, marked by multiple dark patterns adorning his face. And he sprouts horns on his forehead, giving him an eerie resemblance to an Oni. His blade undergoes a significant alteration from its Shikai form, becoming a shorter, more rugged blade with the appearance of a crude cleaver. Kenpachi's Bankai bestows upon him extraordinary physical might and cutting prowess, enabling him to effortlessly bring down the colossal Gerard Valkyrie with a single mighty strike, tear his arm away in a single fluid motion, and slice him in half from a substantial distance. While in this Bankai state, Kenpachi adopts a frenzied, thoughtless demeanor, acting without awareness or concern for his own well-being. Upon activation, Kenpachi's full potential is laid bare, even if it comes at the cost of his own physical condition. Yuichiro no Zarashi, when active, grants Kenpachi a brief window of 666 seconds, equivalent to 11 minutes, before his body begins to deteriorate. This could basically mean that Kenpachi can possibly defeat most if not all the characters in the anime in seconds, making only a few questionable characters that would be able to survive an assault from this Kenpachi. With of course having two major weaknesses that not his opponent can use for their advantage, and that being, while in Bankai, Kenpachi only acts on instinct, like a beast, and even his own power is too much for his own body. Safe to say that Kenpachi might have one of, if not the strongest Bankai, but I still decided to put these two above him. With that being said, it's now time for our number 2 spot, which is our beloved main character, Ichigo Kurosaki's Tensa Zangetsu. When it comes to Ichigo's Bankai, it is really hard to say what its true abilities are. For what we know, each time Ichigo got a new form/upgraded Bankai, his powers would be significantly greater, as his Bankai enhanced his strength, speed, and more. We know that is one of the strongest Bankai out there, being one of the only ones that Yhwach himself feared, always aiming to destroy Ichigo's Zanpakuto. Many have come up with their theories about Ichigo's ability being that he can seemingly change fate, which if that's the actual case then Ichigo's Bankai might be number 1, and it's just the fact that we don't fully know if that's the case, hence for him coming number 2. All honesty, Ichigo Bankai shouldn't even be on this list, even with us knowing his Bankai from the second arc. It's one of those Bankai that we still don't really know the full extent of it. Even with his true Bankai achieved during his fight with Yhwach, we don't really know anything about it. We got to see that his Bankai basically reverted back to his Shikai form, when Yhwach took away both his Quincy and Hollow powers. So Ichigo landed on the second spot today due to the fact that it's one of the most feared Bankai by Yhwach himself, along with the theory of him having the ability to change fate itself. There is a bit of truth to this, as every time Ichigo faced an opponent and he needed to defeat them, even when that opponent seemingly was leagues above him, he also managed to come out on top. This could also just be main character plot armor, but maybe that's his true Bankai powers. Maybe he controls the entire series or can change it when he feels like he's going to lose. With that being said, I'm happy with placing Ichigo at number 2, and many may agree or disagree, but I feel like this is a spot well deserved for him. Finally taking our number 1 spot and being crowned the strongest Bankai is none other than Genryusei Shigekuni Yamamoto's Zanka no Tachi. Yamamoto's Bankai made its debut in chapter 506 of the Bleach manga. When activated, Ryujin Jaka takes on the appearance of a katana with a charred tip. Within this scorched exterior lies the immense power of all of Yamamoto's flames. During its unveiling in the 1000-year Blood War arc, Yhwach cautioned his opponents to exercise extreme caution, as anything touched by the blade faced permanent erasure from existence. The far-reaching effects of Yamamoto's Bankai were evident when, miles away, Shinsui's lips cracked, Yukate's throat parched. And even Unohana expressed concern that the Bankai could potentially obliterate the entirety of Soul Society unless its adversaries were swiftly dealt with. The first phase of Zanka no Tachi is named Zanka no Tachi, Higashi, Kyokujitsujin, or as Viz Media translates it, Blade of Ember, East, Rising Sun Blade. This stage activates concurrently with Yamamoto's Bankai, concentrating the full fiery might within the tip and blade's sharp edge. Even a mere touch or scratch from the Zanpakuto results in the disintegration of anything or anyone. The heat generated is so intense that not even Quincy's defensive move, Bloodfene, can offer protection. The second phase, Zanka no Tachi, Nishi Zanjitsu Goki, or Blade of Ember, West, Sunset Hell Robe per Viz Media, automatically activates alongside the Bankai. In this stage, Yamamoto is enveloped by his formidable Ryatsu, making him visible only at his discretion. This acts as a defensive robe, raising the ambient temperature around him to a staggering 15 million degrees Celsius, equivalent to the sun's surface. Due to this extreme heat, anyone who approaches Yamamoto faces incineration, and their weapons are reduced to nothingness. This was evident in the confrontation between Yamamoto and Yhwach. The heat radiated during this stage is so intense and expansive that it virtually engulfs all of Soul Society. Prolonged activation of Yamamoto's Bankai would culminate in the destruction of Soul Society itself, causing even liquids within and around it to evaporate, and the ground beneath Yamamoto's feet to melt. The flames perceived during this stage are not genuine flames but a manifestation of his Ryatsu. The third phase of Zanka no Tachi is referred to as Zanka no Tachi, Minami, Kakajuma no Kushi Daizojin, which Viz Media has translated as Blade of Ember, South, Trillion Flame Great Corpse Formation. During this stage, Yamamoto activates it for long-range attacks. In this state, he has the ability to summon reanimated corpses of those he has previously defeated with his Zanpakuto and employs them to fight on his behalf. This practice contradicts his role as a Shinigami, whose responsibility is to ensure a peaceful transition of souls to the afterlife rather than involving them in combat. This stage also exemplifies why Yamamoto displayed fearlessness in battles, essentially serving as a one-man army capable of summoning a multitude of corpses to fight alongside him. To activate this stage of his Bankai, Yamamoto thrusts the tip of his sword into the ground, causing it to crumble with such force that it can even annihilate Kirchenlied, Sankt Zwinger, Quincy's most formidable offense and defense prison. As the ground disintegrates, thousands of reanimated zombies emerge and engage the enemy. Apart from bolstering Yamamoto's forces, this stage inflicts psychological damage on his adversaries since Yamamoto can select which corpse to unleash in battle, potentially causing individuals to confront their own subordinates or family members, provided that these individuals were previously defeated by Genryusei. The fourth stage of Zanka no Tachi is named Zanka no Tachi, Kita, Tenchi Kaijin, alternatively translated by Viz Media as Blade of Ember, North, the world reduced to ashes. In this phase, Yamamoto utilizes Shunko to swiftly strike his opponent with tremendous power, generating a wave of fire that annihilates everything in its path, leaving nothing behind. This technique was observed when Yamamoto employed it against the imposter Yhwach, with the wave disintegrating any body parts it came into contact with, reducing them to nothingness. Yamamoto's powers can be ranged between the strongest and most powerful nuclear bomb and the power of the sun. In our assessment, considering Yamamoto's Bankai abilities, it's conceivable that Yamaji could effortlessly obliterate a planet should he choose to do so, while retaining ample strength to persist in battle. So this definitely makes this Bankai the most powerful and destructive Bankai we've seen in the entirety of Bleach. While this Bankai is not on our list, as we could just simply add every single member of Squad Zero if that was the case, but I do find the need to mention it. That of course being of the recently added material to the anime of Squad Zero. Confronted by Yawacha's elite guard, alongside Yuryu and Hashwolf, Squad Zero found themselves facing formidable adversaries. Despite the challenging nature of their opponents, spectators couldn't help but wonder why Squad Zero hadn't unleashed their Bankai abilities. However, the conclusion shed light on this mystery when the remaining members of Squad Zero entrusted Senjimura Shadera with the task of handling the intruders before unexpectedly taking their own lives. This revelation exposed the immense power of their Bankai, necessitating their restraint to prevent unintentional destruction of their surroundings when used simultaneously. As the sole survivor, Senjimura activated her Bankai, which manifested as a colossal loom. With it, she crafted tailored punishments for each Quincy intruder who had recklessly breached their domain. Senjimura's Bankai appeared to create individual pocket dimensions for its victims, generating low-grade earthquakes in both the world of the living and the Soul Society due to its sheer power. Her Bankai effortlessly subdued all 6 enemy Quincy, subjecting them to eternal suffering as retribution for invading the Soul King's palace. The unique seal on Squad Zero's Bankai allowed only one to be revealed, but Senjimura's Bankai left a lasting impression. Notably, this content was not part of the original manga and was introduced by Bleach's creator, tybw, to showcase Squad Zero's true might in a manner that the manga had not. The conclusion of this confrontation, coupled with Ichigo's inaugural Bankai, marked a seeming total defeat for the villains. However, the promise of another chapter in the Thousand-Year Blood War suggests that the resolution may not be as straightforward as it appears. Irrespective of the Quincy's fate, Senjimura's Bankai was an astounding revelation, undeniably showcasing tremendous power. Throughout the episode, Squad Zero boldly claimed superiority over the entire 13 courtguard squads, and if Senjimura's Bankai serves as an indicator, their individual strengths far surpassed that of head captain Yamamoto, who was previously considered the strongest among the 13 squads. The debate regarding the most potent Soul Reaper has been decisively settled. If not Senjimura, then certainly a member of Squad Zero holds the title of Bleach's mightiest Soul Reaper. And there you have it, folks. Our list of the top 10 strongest Bankai in Bleach. It's been an exciting journey delving into the world of Shinigami and their incredible abilities. We hope you enjoyed this countdown, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting Bleach content. Remember to click the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest videos. We're always exploring the vast universe of anime and manga, so you won't want to miss out. Before we go, we'd love to hear from you. Did your favorite Bankai make the list? Is there one we missed? Share your thoughts and rankings in the comments below. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for joining us on this thrilling Bleach journey. Until next time, stay strong.